Long time, y'all. I gotta tell you guys, I am physically and mentally just fucking wore out. I am wore slap the fuck out. So let's get me pulled up here. What's up, guys? It's been a while, man. It has been a freaking while, y'all. But your boy is fucking he's fucking whipped. I'm whipped, dude. I'm whipped mentally. I'm whipped physically. Oh boy, where do I even start? So I haven't been streaming for the last almost a month. It's been 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and it's probably going to be about 3 more months. I'm probably going to be streaming sporadically, unfortunately. Now, here's what's going on. So, my grandmother, this was just right after Christmas. So, I think this was like, I'm going to have my days and dates all fucked up. But my grandmother we made it past Christmas. I want to say it was either the 26th or the 27th. It was before New Year's. I want to say the 27th. Um, she called me. She was having trouble breathing. She was having issues. She was having some major issues. So got there, checked her out, and yeah, she was having problems. Like she was taking in huge deep breaths. I mean, just gasping for air, right? Her legs were swollen. Her legs were actually oozing water, like her body was retaining fluid. And she had fluid, like her stomach looked swollen. It looked bad, you know? And I had one of them oxygen things that you put on the finger, and put it on her. And she was at like, I thought it was broke at first because it said 79. You're supposed to be at like 95 or higher. It said 79. I was like, well, that can't fucking be right. And so then I put it on another finger and it said 76. And I was like, damn. I was like, I've seen it in the 80s before, but I've never seen anybody down in the 70s. And she's just taking in deep breaths. She feels like she just kept saying, "I feel like I can't catch my breath." And she kept saying, "I feel like an elephant is sitting on my chest." Okay, so now I'm thinking, what? Maybe heart attack? I have no idea. No fucking clue. So I get her loaded up in the vehicle. I get her to the emergency room. They hurry up, they check her out. They run her into the back room, get her in there pretty quick. They put this like CPAP or this like oxygen mask on her, and it took a little while. Her breathing, like it kind of breathed for her, and like her oxygen levels kind of come up a little bit, got back up into like 88, 89. They ran an EKG, and they said that she had congestive heart failure, which is why she had all the fluid that she was retaining in the legs and the stomach, and the reason she was having trouble breathing is because the fluid was filling up in her cavities, even up here in the chest. So it was pushing in on the lungs. So that's why she was having a hard time breathing. But not only that, she did have a heart attack. So they drew some blood and they seen that these enzymes, I guess, that your heart gives out when it's had a heart attack. So she had a heart attack as well. So they said they were going to have to give her Lasix to help her get rid of this excess fluid. Well, we got to, so they started giving her Lasix. She started peeing a lot of the fluid. By day 2 or 3, her legs started to kind of go down. She was breathing easier. They got to where they were able to get her off of the the mask and actually just like a regular oxygen, up in the nose. And she seemed like she was doing better. Well, things got bad, really quick. at probably about the fourth day. So she was doing a lot of coughing too because her lungs had fluid in it as well. And she was coughing like a lot of stuff up. Well, she was coughing a lot like the fourth night. I thought the Lasix were working, and I'm thinking maybe, just maybe. Now, congestive heart failure, for those of you that don't know, is basically your the fluids in your body are starting to constrict the organs. Like it was constricting her lungs, constricting her heart, so her heart was having a harder time pumping. And I'm going to try to get through this because there's a lot to this. But I thought, the way they were making it sound was, hey, we'll get the fluids off of her. She'll be able to breathe easier. And then she should be able to get released. But day four, things went really bad, really fast. So day four showed up, and it was on the night of day four, I would say. She was coughing a lot. And then she kept saying, my right side hurts, where my stomach is. My right side hurts. And I didn't think nothing of it at first. And my mother didn't think nothing of it either because my mother was there too. Me and her were both staying with her. We, I haven't been home in 3 weeks. I have not been home in fucking 3 weeks. I've been spending the night at I've been spending the night at the hospital, man. This is actually my first time home in almost a month. So, at any rate, come day four, things got bad. Things got way worse. So, they're giving her Lasix. They're trying to get this fluid off. And the next thing you know, she's coughing a lot. She starts saying, my side is hurting. And I'm thinking at first, no big deal. I'm thinking maybe she pulled a muscle from coughing so much. I didn't think nothing of it. Did not think anything of it. Well, they gave her Tylenol. She's like, I'm in pain. I got this pain on my right side in her stomach area. And so they give her Tylenol. About an hour later, she's like, it's not touching it. It's not doing anything. So they're like, okay, well, we'll give you tramadol. We'll try tramadol. Didn't phase it. Did not phase it. So after the tramadol, they decided, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and do a scan. We're going to take her for a CT scan, see what's going on. But let me tell you, before that happened, though, they once the tramadol didn't work, they then gave her oxycodone. Oxycodone, okay. And then about an hour later, they asked her, "What's your pain level?" She said, "It's still a 10." And then that's when I got concerned. That's when I was worried. I was like, if oxycodone is not taking care of this, then this isn't a pulled muscle. There's something worse. I didn't know what, but get this. This started at like 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3:30 in the morning. And once I'm not a doctor, okay? But you would think if you give somebody oxycodone and that's not even touching the pain, something's wrong, right? So she went from 3:30 in the morning all the way through the day. They didn't do her CT scan till 7 o'clock the following night. And then they wouldn't even read the results until that morning. So she bled out for 30 hours. 30 hours. She sat there in pain, bleeding. And by the time they read the results in the morning, she was already she was incoherent. She was not responsive. She had lost so much blood that her brain was losing oxygen. So she basically just went. She was breathing and she was like moaning, and you could hear like gurgling and shit. And I was like, "This is fucked. This is super fucked." But this is where I got really fucking pissed off. So she told them there was something wrong. She sat there for 30 hours bleeding out. They didn't get concerned until she went, until she went into basically like a coma. I mean, she wasn't even responsive. Like I stayed up the whole freaking night because before she went unresponsive, she started acting like a child. She was talking about stuff that didn't make sense. She was just like staring off into space. It's like she wasn't even there. And I was like, something is definitely wrong. And then she started acting like a kid. She's like, "Why won't you play patty cake with me?" And I'm like, this doesn't even seem like her. But now that I look back, I understand because her brain was losing oxygen. So she went into shock and then she went out. But at any rate, so then they finally read the CT scan results that morning and they realize, oh shit, he's bleeding internally. But by this time, she had been bleeding for 30 hours. 30 hours. And the cardiologist comes in there and she says, we need to have a talk. She says, she's 82 years old, but we're probably going to have to do chest compressions and maybe put her on a ventilator. And then, and then, and then you could see her, but she's 82 years old. She may have lived her life. I was like, I looked at the cardiologist and I said, here's what you're going to do. I said, her time's not done. She's 82 years old. She was doing fine 3, 4 days ago. She came in here for fluid on her body. You were giving her LASIK. She was doing fine. You waited 30 hours to read this CT scan to find out that she's bleeding. And I looked at her. I told her, I said, if she dies because you guys let her bleed out for 30 hours, I said, I might fucking kill you, lady. Straight up. I will fucking kill you. So I said, you're not doing chest compressions and you're not putting her on a ventilator. I said, I don't give a shit what you got to do, but you're going to do something or you're going to try to do something. So at that point, she then called over to ICU. Now, here's the thing you would have thought they would have done carried her ass over to the ICU unit. She was just in the regular cardiology unit. They didn't even bother to take her over to ICU. So the ICU doctor ends up coming over to them. And he walked in the room and he looked at her and he goes, what the fuck is she doing over here? He's like, she should be over where I'm at. Get her the fuck over there. I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So they rush her over to ICU. Um, and while he's doing that, the ICU doctor explained to me, he's like, just looking at her, I already know what's wrong. She's in shock. Her body's in shock. She's done lost so much blood. Well, so they went ahead, they tried to hurry up, figure out what her blood type was. They figured out what her blood type was. They find it took them like an hour. Like they have to get this right because if they give them the wrong blood, but she almost didn't have that time, man. Like she was this close. I mean, I don't know if you guys know anything about hemoglobin, but like your hemoglobin is supposed to be like 11 or 12 and hers was down to 5. So, and like I said, she wasn't coherent. She had went completely out. And not only that, because she had lost so much blood, her liver and kidneys started shutting down. So the ICU doctor, once they rushed her over there, he's like, first thing I got to do is I got to get blood into her body. So they ended up giving her, by the time all was said and done, they ended up giving her 5 bags of blood. 5 bags of blood. Big ass bags. We're talking like I don't. Can you guys see that? I don't even know if this thing's cutting out. It's like this big. Why the whole fucking thing's cutting out? Anyways, five big ass bags. Okay, but what they did is they went ahead and the ICU doctor did more in one day than they did for her in like 4 days over in the other unit. I was so pissed about that, man. But I'm trying to remember everything. There's just been so much going on this last 3 weeks. It's fucking insane. So, anyways, he gives them. So she wasn't coherent. He gives her one bag of blood. Gives her two bags of blood. He comes out and explains to us. He says, her body's in shock. He said she's going to. We're going to take her for another CT scan. We got to find out where exactly the bleeding's coming from. So they get some blood in her to try to kind of stabilize her. They rush her down to CT. They do CT. They find out that there is a vessel that is busted in the right side of her abdomen that's bleeding out. And he said, here's the other problem. He says, I don't know if we're not 100% sure we can fix it. He said, because it's a very, very small vessel and it's in a very, very tight place. And I was like, well, shit. I mean, like, try, because the other unit that she was in, they wasn't even going to try. They just wrote her off. They said, well, she's 82 and she's lived her life. So we're not, they done wrote her off. They're like, well, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to do chest compressions and put her on a ventilator. And I was like, fuck that. You're not. I was like, you fucking assholes. So, anyways, the ICU doctor, he's like, I might be able to save her. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't want to promise. He said, but I might be able to. So they take her into surgery. She's in there for about 2 hours. Now, remember, she originally only came in with trouble breathing and fluid on her body because she has congestive heart failure. How the bleeding happened, I don't know. I don't know where that come from, but she wasn't bleeding when she originally got there. Just keep that in mind. So at any rate, they run her to CT. They do the surgery. It took about 2 hours. He comes out and he gives me a thumbs up. I was like, thank God. He's like, we got the bleeding stopped. I was like, okay. He said, now what we got to do is we got to pump some more blood into her, because like I said, by the time it was all said and done, it was 5 bags of blood. Um, so they started doing that. She's still not waking or responsive. Like you shake her, you try to do anything, she's not responsive. So the only thing we could do at that point, once they'd done that, is sit there, kind of wait. And so I spent the night, and then the next morning, when I woke up, she kind of had her eyes open. She wasn't talking, but she was awake. And the ICU doctor comes in, which is actually this guy right here that you guys see on the screen there. This is him. He told me he had a podcast called the Saving Lives Podcast. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna check it out. I'll do a stream on it. I don't give a shit. Now she's not out of the woods by any means, but if it wasn't for him, she would have been dead probably on the 5th of January, maybe earlier than that, right after New Year's. She would have bled out. She'd have been done if it wasn't for this guy. But anyways, so they do the blood. Now he said, here's a problem though. He goes, her kidneys are not functioning. They're not functioning at all. And he said there's a possibility they could come back, or there's a possibility they might not. I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, if they don't come back, then she's going to be on dialysis, permanently. And I'm like, well, if that's what we got to do, it's what we got to do. So they end up giving her 5 bags of blood. He starts to improve. He finally gets alert. He's finally talking again. And I wanted to go over to the other unit and get that cardiologist and bring her over and be like, see, you see her? That's the one you wanted to do chest compressions on and put on a fucking ventilator. Look at her now. She was she was unresponsive in your unit. She comes over here and the next day she's awake and talking. Fucking stupid. But anyways, so she gets alert. She's still on the like the CPAP mask or something like that, like helping her breathe. She never did end up on a ventilator, which I'm happy about that. Um, she did end up having to do dialysis. She did 3 or 4 rounds of dialysis, and then her kidneys started to slowly function again, and they actually got back to full function. So they fully recovered. Her kidneys fully recovered, her liver fully recovered. Because what was happening is since she was bleeding out and she had lost so much blood, all her organs were starting to shut down. Um, but her kidneys got back to full function, her liver got back to full function. Now, here's the problem is she finally got discharged from the hospital yesterday, but she wasn't able to come home. She's now in like a rehab facility. But here's the issue. They did a heart cath as well because, like I said, when I originally brought her in, it was for the fluid on her body. Like her legs were swollen, her stomach was swollen, she was having trouble breathing, which we found out was from her having congestive heart failure. And that's what they were giving her the Lasix for to help her get the fluid off. The bleeding was a whole different ball of wax. That's not what she originally went in there for. But at any rate, so yeah, her kidneys got back, her liver got back. She just got transferred to rehab yesterday. I've been staying there all day, all night with her for the last 3 weeks. Um, because once I seen that situation with the doctor and they're like, oh, she's 82 years old, you know, she's lived her life and we'll just do chest compressions and put her on a ventilator. I was like, fuck these people. Now the ICU, like this guy, once she got over to ICU, everybody over there was great. Like their attitude over there is, we're gonna try to save him until we just absolutely can't do anything else. But the attitude where she was, yeah, she's 82. I think she's lived her life. I'm like, are you guys fucking nuts? So at any rate, she's in rehab now. She's still not out of the woods. But she is talking, she is alert, she's not bleeding anymore. They've gotten a lot of the fluid off of her body from the congestive heart failure. Now here's going to be the next battle though. They did end up doing a heart cath on her before she was discharged to look at her heart since she's has heart failure, and there's 3 blockages, but they don't want to do surgery right now because with her losing so much blood, her body is like really weak. So before, when I took her to the hospital, she was able to walk. Now she can't walk. She can't walk. She can't do shit. She can't even lift herself up out of the bed. So when if she does make it out of rehab, she's probably going to be coming home with me, which is kind of going to fuck up my streaming schedule, but it is what it is. So I might be streaming sporadically for a while. But yeah, man, that's kind of been the story. That's where I've been for the last 3 weeks. It's been physically and mentally exhausting. I thought they were gonna probably throw me in jail when I told that cardiologist that I was gonna fucking kill her. Yeah, because they had security there and everything. Boy, I was like, oh, that bitch just rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, no. I was like, you guys should have already had her over in ICU. And then y'all waited 30 hours. Like she had been complaining for 30 hours about pain in her right side. She's like, something's wrong. And they didn't do anything. They didn't do a scan till 7 o'clock the following day. Then she ended up bleeding out that whole next day before they waited until she went freaking comatose, till she just wasn't responsive anymore. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't believe in suing people, but after this whole instance, I don't know. I've thought about it. The whole thing's just been fucked up. But at any rate, what's up, Kirsty? Sorry I miss. Sorry I missed your chat. I've just been rambling on here. It's been a shit show, man. These 3 weeks have been really rough. But yeah, man, he's still alive. And like I said, if it wasn't for this guy right here, this guy you see on the screen, she still wouldn't be hanging around. Because he said that she was this close. She was that close. He said if she maybe bled out for maybe another hour, it should have been game over because she wasn't responsive and she had this like I don't know. I guess they call it like a death rattle. Is that what they call it? And she kept running as she was breathing, and her breaths were like super shallow. And then she'd get to where she had these long pauses in between her breathing. Like she'd be breathing, and then she'd stop for like 30 seconds. And then when she'd do that, I'd fucking shake her, like hit her, like, hey, you know? But she's doing a lot better now. She's still not out of the woods. Like I said, her kidneys are functioning, her liver's functioning. She's in rehab. Hopefully they can get her stronger. But see, that's going to be the next battle is we got to try to get her stronger so that she can do heart surgery because she's got 3 blockages in her heart. And there's going to be 2 scenarios. She's either going to have open heart surgery to do 3 bypasses, or yeah, this dude is fucking. He's a miracle worker, dude. Like he turned her around like literally in 24 hours. I mean, she was on death's door. I mean, like he said, she was that close. And to see what he was able to do in 24 hours was just fucking insane. But yeah, I just haven't. Yeah, sorry, I ain't been streaming, guys. I haven't had time, man. I've been up there with her 24/7, man. 24/7. And I wasn't like I said when I originally took her there because she was stable. Like when I told you guys on Discord, I think I had mentioned it on Discord that she was stable. She was stable, and then it was like the following night when all this took place where she started bleeding. She started, so. But yeah, man, we're gonna check it. He's got a couple videos. Like he said, he doesn't do the podcast a whole lot because he doesn't have a whole lot of time. Because the way their schedule works for him is they work 12-hour shifts for 7 days, and then they have 7 days off. And he said he's got 2 kids, he's got a wife. He likes to do the podcast, he just don't have time. But I told him I'd check out some of his videos and stuff. I probably ain't gonna understand half the shit he's talking about, but we're gonna watch it, man. Just to fucking chill, give props to this dude, man. Because like I said, if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't still be here, man. And like I said, she's not out of the woods, but at least he gave her a chance. And that's all you can really ask for, right? But I'm I'm gonna let him just talk. We'll probably go through a couple of his videos here, and I'm gonna be here, but I'm gonna have the camera off. Um, this isn't gonna be like a really elaborate stream. This is just kind of a more of a stream to just kind of update you guys, kind of let you know what's been going on, and um, yeah, man. Talk about lacking sleep. I stayed awake for 4 days straight. I've never done that. Never done that in my life, even when I was younger. I've never stayed up 2 days in a row straight, but I stayed up 4 days straight, man. I was like a fucking zombie walking around that hospital. It was crazy. But at any rate, let's go ahead and jump into it with this dude. I'm gonna pop off. I'm gonna be here, but I'm gonna have the camera off. I'm gonna make him full screen and just kind of check out some of the shit he's got to say, man. Half of the shit I probably won't even know what he's talking about, but I'm gonna check it out anyways, just because he was able to do what he was able to do. All right, let me hold on before I do anything. Yeah, yeah, it's good to see you too, Chrissy. It's been a while. It's hard to believe it's almost been a month since I've streamed. It's been 3.5 weeks. It's crazy. But let's hold on. I ain't streamed in so long that I almost forgot how to fucking turn half this shit on. Let's get rid of that. Gangster withdrawals. Gangster withdrawals. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right. Let me do this. All right. Let's see what this dude's got to say. Let's make him full screen here.
Welcome to the Saving Lives podcast. I'm Eddie Joe. Today, we're going to be discussing an article that was published in 2022 in the Journal of Critical Care that is titled The Incidence of Propofol Infusion Syndrome in Critically Ill Patients. I have it right here on my iPad. As always, hat tip to the authors. Read these data for yourself, and this is not medical advice on how to treat your patients. This is just my interpretation of this article. Again, hat tip to the authors. Quick plug for my book, The Vasopressor and Inotrope Handbook, which is available on Amazon and is also available on my Shopify store. If you purchase the book directly from me, I'll go ahead and personalize it and sign it for you. So thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and get started with this article. Those of us who work in the intensive care unit use propofol, I guess, every single day. I mean, I know I use it every single day, and it is a very, very effective sedative. It is easy to titrate on. It is easy to titrate off. But I do like to remind folks that this is not a medication that is used for pain. So if you're using somebody for
Stupid ads.
Teammate, I need your...
If you have somebody who you need to sedate and they're intubated and they're just on propofol, make sure you're taking care of their pain with some other form of analgesia, because propofol is not cutting it. Now, there is an adverse effect of propofol, which is this propofol infusion syndrome, PRIS. I always thought it was propofol-related infusion syndrome, but I guess I'm wrong. And the reasons why it happens is either patients are on propofol for a prolonged period of time, or they are on high doses of propofol, in which case many institutions have a threshold as to how high you could go for exactly this reason, to avoid this clinical manifestation, which causes a lot of harm to patients. Because amongst things it causes include metabolic acidosis, cardiac dysfunction, rhabdo, hypertriglyceridemia, and acute kidney injury. From a historical perspective, this condition was first described in the late 1990s, and it's thought to be underdiagnosed because a lot of other illnesses that we take care of in the intensive care unit also cause a metabolic acidosis, cardiac dysfunction, rhabdo, and acute kidney injury. So what these authors tried to do was to see if they could provide more of a clear picture as to what propofol-related infusion syndrome is. I'll call it PRIS moving forward, as well as its associated risk factors and how that all behaves in our critically ill patients. From an overview perspective, this was a retrospective multi-hospital observational cohort study, meaning that these patients weren't blinded or anything like that. And it took place at NYU between March of 2020 to February of 2021. Something curious was happening in the world of healthcare during these months, but that's neither here nor there. And what they did was that they included 654 adult ICU patients who received, and these are the key characteristics here, the propofol infusion for at least 48 hours or at a dose of greater than 16 micrograms per kilogram per minute for 24 hours. So in other words, prolonged duration or high doses. And the high dose here was 16 micrograms per kilogram per minute. At my institution, we have a cap of 50 that you could use. Sometimes you go a little bit higher, but for the most part, it's not sustainable. So the primary outcome was the incidence of PRIS, and they defined that by using major features such as metabolic acidosis and cardiac dysfunction with at least 2 minor features. And this is where you have the hypertriglyceridemia or the rhabdo. With regards to the secondary outcomes, they included PRIS-associated mortality as well as hospital length of stay. So what did these authors find? This is what we're here. First of all, let's discuss the incidence. They found that the incidence was 2.9% of patients. It's not very high when you think about just 19 out of 654, but at the same time, we put propofol on so many patients, or better said, we put so many patients on propofol that 2.9% is something that we do run into every now and then if we were to use these doses. But even though it's uncommon, again, it's something we could still run into. With regards to mortality, and here they looked at PRIS-associated mortality, the rate of mortality when these patients had PRIS was 94.7%. But then again, these are patients who are critically ill, so if you're on propofol at that high a dose or for that long, chances are something's wrong with you that's, possibly lethal. But they went ahead and they defined PRIS-specific mortality, which was death occurring within 7 days of the onset of PRIS. And this was 36.8%, which is still pretty significant. They were able to tease out a couple risk factors for developing PRIS. Here, for example, they found that the median propofol dose in PRIS patients was just 36.4 micrograms per kilogram per minute. And it was administered over a median duration of 147 hours. Now, they did observe hypertriglyceridemia as well as acute kidney injury in all of the PRIS patients. So keep your eyes open for patients' triglyceride levels because this could be indicative that something bad is going to happen. I know that we at our institution regularly check triglyceride levels every couple of days to ensure that this is not brewing in the background. So something to keep that in mind. Now, the metabolic acidosis, I would have figured occurred in all the patients, but it didn't. It only occurred in 78.9% of patients. And the cardiac dysfunction occurred in 52.6% of patients. So that means we got to keep an eye on these different things, the hypertriglyceridemia, acute kidney injury, metabolic acidosis, and cardiac dysfunction. From a clinical manifestation standpoint, the hallmark signs of PRIS per this study were the hypertriglyceridemia, as well as the rhabdo. So checking patients' CPK or CK, depending on what you check at your institution, could be worthwhile to help you identify if the patient is going to PRIS. Now, the hypertriglyceridemia occurred at a median of 4.6 days after starting propofol, and the triglyceride levels exceeded 482. So it's a pretty high triglyceride level. We tend to stop it if the triglyceride levels are over 300. We go ahead and we switch our sedative agent. And rhabdo was noted in 26.3% of PRIS patients. Now, these patients, from an outcome standpoint, obviously you have to fix this issue, And so these patients had a higher length of stay. However, some of them had a shorter length of stay because they unfortunately passed. So all in all, what do we do with these data and with our utilization of propofol? Well, first of all, we need to think about the doses of propofol as well as the duration of propofol that we use in our patients. And if we have no choice because we don't want to use benzodiazepines in our patients, we just need to monitor them by checking either triglyceride levels, not either, but you could check them all. You could check their triglyceride levels on certain periods of time. You should also check to see if they're going into rhabdo by checking CK or CPK on random intervals of time, depending on your institution. But most of all, you should just try to avoid using such high doses for such a prolonged period of time of propofol. from a lab perspective, also, one of the things I keep a close eye on my patients' BMP on their basic metabolic panel or their CMP, comprehensive metabolic panel, is that I look at their serum bicarb, which is the CO2 that you see there. If that number is, let's say it's below 20, my mind is starting to spin a little bit as to wondering why this patient has a metabolic acidosis and how could we go about fixing it. So again, what's important about the study, to wrap this up, is that it sheds light on all these factors about propofol infusion syndrome. The incidence, again, is 2.9%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you make it relevant to how many hundreds of patients, even thousands of patients we take care of every year in our intensive care unit, that means it does show its face every now and then, unfortunately. So I'd like to know what you think, and how have you seen propofol infusion syndrome? How have you guys taken care of it? What do you do at your institution to make sure that this pathology does not come to say hello? And just give me your generalized thoughts. All in all, thank you for tuning into my podcast, the Saving Lives podcast. I wish you all a very happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Definitely a Happy New Year. It's a new year. New year, new me. What's it that the kids say? Anyway, I wish you all the best. Thank you for your support. Thank you for making 2024 a success. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in 2025 out in conferences and such. Definitely check out my book, the Vasopressor and Inotrope Handbook, and pick up a copy if you haven't already. Oh, by the way, I should have said this earlier, but if you purchase a copy of the book by listening to this podcast, type in the code podcast into the checkout box, and obviously this needs to be on my personal store, and you'll save an additional 10% off the book. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
All right, let's see what else he's got. What else do we want to check out? Let's see. Hey, what's up, Burge? I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, you guys missed the whole lowdown on what I explained the whole situation with my grandmother. And like I said, I've been up there for the last 3 weeks. Um, it's been a rough ride, man. Um, but yeah, if you go back to the beginning, you can check out the whole thing. I guess I can run through it again. Shit, why not? Yeah, let me do the whole rundown, okay? So here's what happened. I'll go through it with you guys again. Let me pull me up here real quick. Let's see. All right, there we go. I'm back. Oh, I'm back temporarily. So let me go ahead and run this through you guys. I already explained this to Christy, but let me explain to you guys what's going on or what happened. So, what's up, Tyler? All right. So here, let's start from the beginning. Here's the lowdown. All right. So my grandmother, she called me at. So she went to the hospital. It was either the 26th or the 27th. It was right after Christmas. Replying to Title One, and there's that. I said it first. Yeah. So here's what happened. So she called me on like the 26th or 27th, right after Christmas. She said, I'm having trouble breathing. I'm having a really hard time breathing. So, went, checked her out, and her her legs were like super swollen, and her stomach was really swollen. And she was kind of like gasping for air, and she kept saying, I can't catch my breath. And she said, it also feels like there's an elephant on my chest. And I was like, when she said that, obviously I was thinking heart attack, right? So I wasn't sure, but I was like, looking at her legs were oozing fluid out of them. And I was like, yeah, your body's retaining fluid. Something's not right. So I got her loaded up, got her to the ER room. I had checked her oxygen. I had one of them little finger thingies that you put the oxygen on the finger, and it said 79. And I was like, I think this thing's broke. I was like, 79. So I put it on another finger and it said like 76. And I was like, oh shit. And then she starts gasping like even more for air. And I'm like, no, you're going. So I got her in the vehicle real quick, got her to the ER. They see her, they run through real quick, they rush her back. They do some quick, so they get a mask on her to help her breathe. It's kind of like a CPAP, but I guess different. But to try to ease her breathing because she was having real labored breathing. And they run some tests. They do an EKG. They said that she had congestive heart failure and that she did have a heart attack. Now, where the heart attack come from, I'm assuming it was probably because of the stress from the heart failure and maybe all the fluid and her breathing put too much strain on her heart. But at any rate, she had congestive heart failure. So they said, we're going to have to give her Lasix to try to help her get rid of all this excess fluid. And I'm thinking, okay, and they wasn't making it sound like it was a big deal. It's like something they see a lot of. And I was like, okay, so I'm thinking, maybe we'll be in the hospital, maybe max a week is what I was thinking. And when I had text or I messaged you guys on Discord, I don't remember what date that was, but they got her a room. So they got her out of the ER room. They got her into a room, and they were giving her Lasix, trying to get the fluid off. And then it was right after New Year's. So right after New Year's it happened because we watched the fireworks from her downtown from her room window there. Like the next day, and she was doing a lot of coughing because she had fluid in her lungs from all the fluid that was just kind of accumulating. Well, I think it was the day after New Year's. It was like 3:30 in the morning, and she's doing a lot of coughing. But then she started complaining about her side hurting. And I think at that time I had messaged you guys on Discord and told you that she was kind of like stable now, which at this point she kind of was. Like her breathing had gotten better. She still had the mask on, but her breathing wasn't as labored. She was getting some of the fluid off. Like her legs were starting to kind of shrink a little bit. They wasn't as blown out. And I was like, all right, well, we're heading in the right direction. So I told you guys, she seems like she's stable now. Well, things got way worse. Way, way worse. So 3:30 that night, she starts complaining about her right side hurting. And I'm thinking at first, no big deal. I'm thinking because all the coughing she's doing, like if you guys have ever coughed a lot from an illness, and sometimes you pull like a muscle on the side, it hurts like a bitch. So I was thinking maybe she had done something like that. So she calls a nurse. She says she's like, "Hey, I'm having some pain on the right side." So they're like, "Okay, well we'll give you some Tylenol, see if that does anything." So they give her some Tylenol. They check back on her like an hour later. She's like, "How's the pain?" She's like, "Still like a 9." They're like, "Okay, well, buffering? Why the hell is it buffering? Why are you buffering? Must be kick, because it ain't on my end. It's not on my end. Everything looks good on OBS over here. It must be kick then. Let's see. Yep, everything looks good on my end. Okay, he's back. All right. So at any rate, let's see, where was I? So yeah, so they gave her Tylenol, that didn't work. An hour later, they gave her Tramadol. They came back an hour later, said, "How's the pain?" She said, "It's like a 10 now, so it's not going down." And I still wasn't really thinking nothing of it at this point. I'm thinking maybe she still just pulled a muscle from coughing. Maybe it has something to do with the fluid because she had fluid kind of in her cavities around her lungs. And I was like, no big deal. She's like, all right, well, we're going to try oxycodone. And I'm thinking, okay. So they give her oxycodone. And I'm like, for sure, this is going to help her with the pain. Give her oxycodone. Hour later, they ask her, they're like, what's your pain level? She says, still a 10. And I was like, then at that point, that's when I got concerned. I was like, okay, this might not be a pulled muscle. This might be something else. And I'm not a doctor, but I'm smart enough to know that okay, well if oxycodone ain't touching it, then there's something wrong. There's something fucked up. So what happened, you would think at that point they would have been like, hey, we need to do a CT scan. No. So she sat there from 3:30, it was 3:30 in the morning. She went all the way through the day to 7 o'clock that night. They finally did a CT scan. Finally did a CT scan at 7 o'clock that night. And they said the doctor wouldn't read the results until 8 o'clock the next morning. So she went like 30 hours, maybe longer than 30 hours, but at least 30 hours in pain, severe pain at that. And come to find out, by the next morning when the doctor finally read it, when the doctor finally read the CT scan, she'd been bleeding internally. So she had been bleeding out for 30 plus hours. 30 plus hours she'd been bleeding out. But by the time they read them results that morning, she was unresponsive. She was breathing barely, but that last night, like I stayed up for real. That's what I'm saying. So get this, it gets worse. So she bled out for 30 hours. They finally read the results at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they come in and they say, but by this time, she's lost so much blood that she's unconscious. She's unconscious. Um, Her kidneys and her liver started to shut down because of the blood loss. She had lost so much blood. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about hemoglobin. I didn't really know much about it till after this incident. But apparently, your hemoglobin, which is like your blood, whatever, it's supposed to be like 11 or 12. And hers was down to like a 5, and it was almost to a 4. So, but she was unconscious. Like you could hit her, you could shake her, and she was not responsive. She wouldn't open her eyes. She wouldn't do anything, and she was barely breathing. And she got to the point where she was actually breathing, and then she'd stop for like 30 seconds. Like you would just see the air come out of her, and then for 30 seconds you just wouldn't see anything, and then all of a sudden she'd start breathing again. But by this time, the doctor comes in, and the cardiologist, and she says, well, we didn't know that she was bleeding inside, but she is 82 years old, and she this it may just be her time, and we'll do chest compressions on her, and we'll put her on a ventilator so that you can see her, but she's 82 and it might just be her time. And I told the cardiologist, I said, bitch, they ended up getting security. They were fixing to throw me out. I told her, you I told the cardiologist, I said, you let her sit here and bleed out for 30 plus hours, and you ain't even going to try to save her? You're not even going to try to save her. I told her, I said, if he fucking dies over here, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to fucking kill you, lady. And so they got security down there. I've never been a person that believed in suing at all. I've never been anyone that believed in suing, but in this particular instance, I'm seriously tempted. Like, really am. And so, at any rate, instead of taking her to the ICU, They let her sit there and, you would think they would have took her over to the ICU unit. The ICU unit is just right across the hall from where she was. They didn't take her over there. So after I said that, after I threatened the cardiologist and told her that if she fucking dies in that room with her standing there and not trying to do anything, that she's gonna be laying there dead next to her. They got security, but in the meantime, she ran out, and instead of carrying her over to the ICU, she ran over to the ICU and got the doctor and brought the doctor over to her unit to look at her. And he walked in the room and he wasn't even in there for like 30 seconds. He's like, what the fuck is she doing over here? She should be over in my unit. Why is she still here? So he yells for somebody to grab a bed. They put her in the bed. They rush her over to his unit because he was the ICU head doctor there at the time. And they rushed her over there. And so while they're rushing him over there, he's talking to me. He says, I'm gonna be straight up with you. He said, her body's in shock. Because like I said, at this point she wasn't responsive. You could slap her, you could hit her. She wouldn't open her eyes, she wouldn't do anything. He said her body's in shock from all the blood loss. And she's unconscious because her brain's not getting oxygen. And they ran some blood tests on her, and then that's when they told me that her kidneys and her liver were not working. But her organs were starting to shut down because they also were not getting blood. So he said, first thing we're going to do is we need to find out what her blood type is, like super quick. So it actually took them about 30 to 45 minutes. Um, he said he wished they could do it quicker, but they got to get it right because, they give them the wrong blood, causes problems. So I get that. But in total, by the time everything was said and done, they gave her 5 bags of blood. Took 5 bags to get her kind of stable again. But what they did is they put, yeah, 5 bags of blood. So they put 1 bag in, they put 2 bags in. After they got the second bag in, he said that she wasn't conscious still, but she was kind of like stable, I guess. And he's like, I gotta take her for a CT scan. We need to find out exactly where the bleeding's coming from. So they take her down for a CT scan. He comes back, he shows it to us, and in her stomach on the right side, there's a little itty bitty vessel that has busted open, and he showed it to us. And he said, so the good news is we found it. The bad news is he said it's a very, very small vessel and it's in a very, very tight spot. And we don't even know if we can fix it. And I was like, oh, well, this is great. But he says, we're going to try. I was like, well, yeah, at least you're going to try. I was like, unlike that bitch over in the other unit, she wasn't going to try to do shit. So I had signed some papers. They went ahead, they got her in there. It took about 2 hours. Um, After 2 hours, he come out. There was like stairs. He was coming down the stairs, and he kind of gave me the thumbs up, and I was like, thank God. Let's see. At least he has a brain and a heart for her. It should not take that long to read the CT scan results. They literally get the results instantly. Yeah, I was not happy about it at all. And you would think, like even the nurses, when they gave her oxycodone and that wasn't touching it. Like I'm not a doctor, but I'm already know like oxycodone. If that ain't helping the pain, there's something wrong, you know. But at any rate, they get it fixed. Then he said, okay, we got the bleeding stopped. Now we need to give her some more blood because her hemoglobin is still extremely low. So they give her 3 bags of blood, and then I've been staying the night with her for the past 3.5 weeks. So I've been there like every day. But in 24 hours, he took her from her kidneys were shut down, her liver was shut down. She was unresponsive, and she was for like 30-second intervals not breathing. The next morning, her eyes were open. She wasn't talking, but she was looking around. And then by that afternoon, she was starting to talk a little bit. And they're asking her, "Do you know who I am? Do you know my mother was there as well?" She's like, "Do you know who she is?" And she had all that. Whatever hospital that is, I definitely will never get care there. And that's the thing, man. This is supposed to be a good hospital, man. And I don't even know if it's the hospital. I think it's just that doctor, man, because the ICU unit that she was in. As a matter of fact, you see this picture right here, or this guy right here. That's the guy that took her over to the ICU. He told me he had a podcast, and I was like, I'm gonna have to check that out. But yeah, that's this is the guy right here. But at any rate, he said, "Okay, we got the bleeding stopped. We got enough blood in her." He said, "But here's going to be the bad news." He said, "Right now, her kidneys are not working." He said, "They're not working at all. Period." For yeah, something's got to happen. No, no, she opened her eyes, but you could tell that she was still like, I don't know if it was blood loss, like her brain was like finally starting to kind of fire back up, and she was looking around, but she wasn't doing a whole lot of talking. But she looked better 24 hours later than what state she was in. So at any rate, he said her kidneys are not functioning at all. Period. And I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, if they don't function at all, she could be on dialysis, forever. I was like, okay, well, if that's what we got to do, it's what we got to do. And he said her liver's not functioning, her kidneys are not functioning, but he said only time will tell. So she did 4 rounds of dialysis, and then they were going to do the fifth one, but they ran blood tests and they seen like glimpse of her kidneys trying to like start firing back up. Well, they did fire back up and they actually made a full recovery. So her kidneys are fully functioning. So that was one battle. Her liver is fully functioning again. So that was the next battle. Now the other problem is with all the blood loss that she had, she's super weak. Even though they gave her enough blood, um, she's super weak. Like when I took her to the ER, she could walk. Even though like it was hard for her to walk, she could walk. Now she can't even walk. She's just so weak. So they did end up she did end up finally getting off the oxygen mask, went to the oxygen in the nose. So now she's not on oxygen at all. What's her first name? Her first name is Joanne, but she's not on oxygen at all now. She can't walk though. She's very weak. So she finally ended up getting discharged, which, like I said, she's not out of the woods yet. She's got a long way to go. She could be in rehab for a couple months. Um, so I don't know. I'll be streaming kind of sporadically. She'll probably be coming home with me. If and when she does get out of rehab. So my streaming's probably going to be kind of all over the place for a little while, but it is what it is. But she's in rehab now. Hopefully they can build her strength back up. But this is the next battle. We're not done. We got another battle. So before they released her, they did a heart cath to find out what the heart failure thing's all about. Yeah, they fixed the leak. Yeah, they were able to fix the leak. I saw the Rumble will be giving creators in the IRL just chatting categories $5,000 tips in the Rumble wallet. That'd be fucking nice. $5,000 tip would be great right about now. Oh man, it would be great. But anyways, so the next battle before they got her out of the sorry, I'm all over the place. There's just so much shit that's happened. Before she got released to rehab, they did a heart cath on her. Once she got stable, once her kidneys got working, her liver was working, she wasn't on oxygen anymore. Oh, come on, Burge. You don't have to do that, man. I appreciate it. You don't have to do that. I appreciate it, man. But so once her kidneys got working, her liver got working, and she got stable. She wasn't on oxygen anymore. They went in and they did a heart cath to find out why the original issue she came in, which was with the fluid. I know it's I know it's not close, but man, I appreciate it, man. You didn't have to. I appreciate it. But they did a heart cath, try to find out what was going on. She has three blockages in her arteries, and she's she has two options. She could probably do two stents, and they need to do two stents and one bypass, or do open heart and just do three bypasses. They didn't do it right now because her body's so weak from all the blood loss. She has no strength. So they sent her to rehab. She's got to try to build her strength up. Hopefully she can. If she can build her strength up, then we can go back to the cardiologist and say, hey, kidneys are functioning, liver's functioning. I got my strength back up. Can we do this surgery? Because in her frail state, because she was so weak and frail, they couldn't do the. They said if they had to do open heart on her in the state she was in, she probably wouldn't survive. So they said it was best to try to let her build her strength back up, heal from this, and then talk about it maybe, in a couple months. So we'll see where it goes. Burgie, at least here someone got the gifted sub that is not Botrix. But yeah, and then I was telling Christy that there was 4 nights. Well, I stayed up 4 days straight, and like the fourth day, I was like a zombie walking around in the hospital, man. I know I had to look like I was just fucking wired out. But yeah, man, it's been a rough 3 weeks, man. It really has. But I'm not bitching, you know. She's still here. If it wasn't for this guy, she would have been dead at the beginning of the month. If it wasn't for this dude, she'd be gone, 100%. So yeah, that's where I've been. That's what I've been up to. Like I said, my streaming's gonna be sporadic. You'll just have to kind of catch me when you catch me, I guess. You know. Like I said, she's probably gonna be coming home with me, and well, I'll have to get her to her appointments and stuff, and we'll figure it out. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys. But that's why I didn't say anything because it was weird because when I messaged y'all on Discord and I told you that she was stable, that was like the third day. And I thought things were good because they had got her breathing under control a little bit. They got some of the fluid off of her. But then it was the next day, man. Everything just went downhill so fast. I didn't even have time to like look at my phone or stream or do anything. As a matter of fact, this is the first time I'm home tonight in 3.5 weeks. I've been just staying up at the hospital because after what happened with that one doctor, I didn't want any other crazy shit happening. I was like, I'm gonna be here 24/7. Screw it. Yeah, that cardiologist got Burgie to swear. I bet that dipshit doctor lady didn't even come around while all that was going on. No, but you know what I am gonna do? And I'm gonna do it 100%. If she gets out of rehab, if and when she gets out of rehab, uh, I don't care if she's walking or if I got to put her in a wheelchair. I'm gonna roll her ass up there, and I'm gonna take her to the one side, to the ICU doctor, this guy here that you see on the screen, and I'm going to tell him I would like to, if she makes a full recovery, I'd like to give him like a gift card or something, like Longhorn or something, or a restaurant, give him like $100, $200 gift card, something. I don't know what you tell somebody that saves one of your family members when they're like this close to death, you know? But I'm gonna go over there, let her see him, and then I want to go over there where that lady cardiologist is, and I want to tell her, now look at her. That's who you wanted to that's who you wanted to do chest compressions on and put on a ventilator. And look at her now. Yeah, I'm gonna go back there and show her, be like, this is who you were giving up on. Yeah, screw that lady. So yeah, that's the whole story, y'all. It turned out it's definitely not what I thought it was going to be. Like when I took her to the ER originally, and they said she had congestive heart failure, and they were just going to get the fluid off of her. I was like, ah, we might be in there a week. I was thinking she'd be in the hospital for like a week. But then when the whole bleeding thing, I was like, that was out of left field. That I was not expecting. I don't think she was expecting it either. So it is what it is. But at least she's still here, she's still hanging in. Um, maybe I can do a stream up in her room. You guys can see her. That lady needs a good talking to with the Hells Angels or Italian mob or oh, they already tried to throw me out of the hospital because I told her I was gonna kill her. I mean, I don't think that was wrong to say, honestly. I mean, somebody say that about your family member, you let them sit there and bleed out for 30 plus hours and you ain't gonna try to do nothing? Really? We're gonna do chest compressions and put her on a ventilator. Screw you, lady. Yeah, man. I'll have to see if I can get like kick up on my phone and stuff. Maybe I'll do a live stream with her. You guys can see her. And her side looks so bad though, where she was bleeding. Like literally her whole right side is just black and blue, which the ICU doctor said that it was gonna look really, really bad before it got better. But hit go live app. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to get that on the phone then. I think they got internet up there, or well, I guess I could use the internet on the phone. But I can't imagine that the internet on the phone would be all that great. Lets you see chat on the phone. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I will, man. And like I said, if I get time, maybe I'll do a live stream with her. Probably might be her, my mother, me, maybe my daughter will be up there. Try downloading that app on mine, but it wouldn't let me. Oh, dude, I wish I could have been live streaming when I told that doctor what I told her. That would have made a good YouTube video now that I think about it. That would have been that YouTube video may have got like 1 million hits. Yep, that would have been a good YouTube video. But enough about me, man. What have y'all been up to? What's Burge, Christy, and Tyler been up to? What have y'all been up to? I mean, downloaded it, but it wouldn't let me input the code. You got a job. What kind of job do you get? Gangster needs a GoPro? Yeah. Yeah, I need a GoPro. Get a GoPro on my head. Go back and visit that lady, that doctor. I'm gonna do it if and when she gets out of rehab. I'm taking her back up there just to see this guy, just to show him how well she's doing, and then I'm gonna take her over to that lady and let her see what she was fixing to just fucking let go. Sales job at Slice merchants. What the hell are you slicing? You cutting people up? Tyler ain't got no. He ain't got shit to say. Like, no, I'm not slicing up people. Yo, I go back to work on Friday. Wait a minute. You held on. You lied to us. I thought you said you went back to work on the 16th. How did you get another week? It's a company that offers 0% processing fees to small businesses. It's a company that offers 0% processing fees to small businesses. Well, then how do they make money? No, back was still bad, so more PT. You got what? Did you get married, Burge? Who'd you get married to? Ever heard of Clover devices? No. Wait a minute. Did Burge and Tyler get married? Did y'all get married while I was gone? Oh, okay. So Burge switched to the home team, huh? Burge switched to the home team. Okay, I got it. Heck no. No, you didn't switch to the home team? Well, Tyler said you did. No, I don't think Burge would do that. A 99-year-old lady. Holy cow. 99 years old. He must have married her for Social Security, for her retirement pension. Like, yeah, I'm going to go find me an old cougar. I'm going to take her retirement when she goes. She still, he took my lifestyle up. What's your lifestyle, Tyler? She still works. What the hell she doing at 99 years old? What kind of work she doing? She sells she sells scooters. Yeah, I don't know if I want the 99-year-old scooters though. I don't know. That's got a lot of miles on it, man. And that's like a 1970 Ford Plymouth with like 500,000 miles on it. I'm not sure what that is. Married a 99-year-old stripper. Man, I don't want to see no 99-year old stripper. They're fucking up. She's on stage dancing around with her cane. Jesus Christ. She don't even need a pole. She can just dance around her cane or her walker. Shit, fuck it. I don't care. If my grandmother can get through this, maybe I'll throw her up on stage. Be like, hey, rehab, go strip. She really wraps around that pole. Oh my gosh. A couple of times. Jesus Christ. Y'all are crazy. But at least y'all made me laugh, man. It's because this is these last 3 weeks, man. And I just been so angry at that lady, yo. It's like, she had already went in with the fluid on her, but I think she could have not if they'd have done something about the bleeding earlier, she wouldn't have got as bad as she had gotten, if that makes sense. Gravity hits Berg's wife hard. Oh my gosh. What, his actual wife? Like his ex-wife? I've never seen a picture of Burgess. Her nipples touch the floor. Roll them up. Roll them up. Oh, the stripper. Okay. Well, what's funny, Burge, is the ICU doctor. He even made mention to me. He was like, after they done like stop the bleeding, and the next day, like she actually had her eyes open and stuff. He was like, he's like, you realize she was like this close, like literally this close to passing. I was like, I know. He's like, and I don't understand. He was like, I don't even understand why they didn't bring her over to my unit. He's like, she shouldn't even have been over there. And they should have carried her over there to his unit. But they didn't even do that. They went and got him and made him come over to look at her. Yeah, he wasn't happy about it either. If you get too close to the stage, you will be at risk of getting smacked in the face, even if you are 5 feet away. Jesus Christ. Man, I don't want boobs that are that fucking big. I don't want boobs that are weapons. Let's see, what time is it, man? Oh shit, it's already 11 where I'm at. But yeah, guys, I'll be streaming here and there. Like I said, I used to stream every day, but that's probably not going to happen for a little while. Uh, just kind of have to catch me when you catch me, I guess. But I'm gonna hopefully maybe once she gets out of rehab, her stripper name is Long Boob Brenda. Oh my gosh, Long Boob Brenda. I appreciate it, Burge. Yeah, I appreciate it. Christy, Burge, Tyler, everybody on Rumble, YouTube. You guys are awesome, man. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have some people that you know that are strangers, but that kind of give a shit. You could definitely count on me for a laugh. 100%. But yeah, this guy right here, this dude. If it wasn't for this guy, man, like I the only thing I think to give him is literally like a like a gift card to a restaurant or something. You've been asking about me nonstop. Who you been asking? Burge and Tyler? Like what happened to Gangster? Fucking disappeared. Well, trust me, I wasn't planning on being gone this long. Like I didn't think it was gonna be as long as it is and turn into what it turned into, for sure. Like I said, when she went, I was thinking maybe she'd be there a week max. But hey, sometimes life throws some weird shit at you sometimes. But yeah, let's hope this it's not a good start to the year, but hopefully it'll get better. But enough about me, man. What y'all been doing? Been streaming a lot? You guys are family to me. I really only have my mom I talk to. Is your dad passed already? Yeah, you got your husband and kids, your mom to you in 2013. Dang, I hate to hear that. I lost my grandfather fairly recent. It's been about 5 years now. Lost him back in, I think it was either 2020 or 2021. If I get enough money to buy island, y'all will not see much because I will be in my fortress. I'm kind of the same way, Burge. Like I'm really tight with my mother and my grandmother because they also live, in the same city that I'm in. But the rest of my family lives like in South Carolina and some live in Tennessee. I don't really talk to them and I really don't do any meetups because they're kind of like these like high uppity uppities where they like to talk about who's got what and what, their kids are going to college and this one's a doctor and this one's a lawyer and everybody's comparing like what kind of vehicles and how big their house is and I'm like, I ain't got time for all that. I have two friends from Northern Illinois who keep in touch with me. Okay. I'm gonna buy an island and build a castle fortress. Heck yeah, man. Make me a room. I'll move in. I'll be a guard for you. I'll guard. I'll guard the front door. I mean, as far as non-immediate family. Okay. But yeah, guys, I think let's check out one more of his videos. I'm trying to get as many entries for the Beam giveaway. What's the Beam? I haven't even looked at Beam. What's the giveaway? Is it for the PC again? 6K gaming PC. Hmm. Sure, and Chrissy and Bergie will have space in the fortress. Yeah, I'll be the guard. Burge can be like yeah, we'll make Christy be the server. She can bring us all the food and shit. She could be like, "Hey, that's sexist." Yeah, Burge could be the repairman. I'll be the dragon. No, you could be the server. Bring us the food and water. Burge will take care of the guns and ammunition. Yeah, he'll be the one to fix shit. And then, like, if anybody's jewelry breaks, like if your crown breaks, I'll fix the shit. I'll weld it together for you. I'll be the king. I don't know, man. I might have to fight you for the king position. Hey, hey, Chrissy just flicked me off. She said, "Go fuck yourself, gangster." Fucking asshole. But yeah, guys, let's check out one more of his videos. Chrissy will be the interior designer. Yeah, she could be. Only problem is, though, she might not be tall enough to reach the windows. Yo, she gonna be so mad at me. Yeah, we've already got anarchy. Yeah, it's gonna be like, I can't reach the windows. Like, fire the arrows. Like, I can't see out the window. She can make diamond paintings for the fortress. Yeah. All right, guys, let's check out one more of his videos, and then I'm gonna have to talk with him, man. It would be kind of cool if, I mean, I know he's busy, like he's got his podcast and he's ICU doctor, but maybe I can do like a stream with him or something. I'll talk to him about that. That'd be kind of cool. Have him, me, and her, and just sit there, just talking about what happened. Haha, bedazzle the castle. Yeah, but the only problem is she's so short. She'll put all the take him out to eat. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could. Like, hey, Doc, you want to go out to Longhorn and bring your wife and your kids? Bring my grandmother, bring my mother, bring my daughter. We'll just have a, yeah. And we ain't inviting that lady. Screw her. Nah, I mean, he's cool, but I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to be like buddy buddies with him, but 'cause I know he's got shit to do. He's got a family. Throw in the most, just say, heck, man, I didn't threaten to kill you. I did, man. And I thought about that afterwards. I was like, that would have been such a good YouTube video. That thing probably would have got like 10 million hits. Telling a cardiologist if your grandmother dies, and she's gonna be dead next to her. That's exactly what I told her, though. I couldn't believe she said that. Like, I don't know, man. Just the balls to even say that. Not that she has any balls, but the look on her face. She was actually stunned, like super stunned. As a matter of fact, I think she thought I was gonna hit her because I literally just could not believe that came out of her mouth. I was thinking like, hey, okay, she's internally bleeding. Maybe let's try to see if we can get her into surgery. Let's get her over to ICU. Let's do something. But no. The very first words out of her mouth when she walked in was, "Well, she's 82 years old and she's probably lived her life and she's at the end of her life and we can do chest compressions and put her on a ventilator." And I was like, That was like the last thing I was expecting to hear. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expects a doctor to come in and say some shit like that. Now, if she had like cancer, like terminal cancer, I could understand. But this is something that was fixable. No, she didn't want to do anything. That was the thing. And like I said, the ICU doctor, he wasn't very happy about the situation either. He was like, I can't, because he talked to me afterwards once she got kind of stable, and he was just like, I can't believe they didn't bring her over here sooner. I would have said, how would you feel if someone said that to you about your grandmother? Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel sorry for her family members because if they get in trouble, she's just gonna be like, well, just do chest compressions and put them on a ventilator. Her success rate's probably not that great. Like I said, I've never believed in suing people. I've never sued anybody in my life, but this seems like it could be something. And I don't even necessarily want the money, but I would like for something to happen to her, I mean, because if she's doing that with me, how many, or she did that with, my grandmother, how many other people is she doing that with? You know? How many people have died in there because they just didn't want to do anything? Yeah, it's crazy. Now, if it's something terminal, like cancer, or maybe they were in a tragic car accident and their organs are all screwed up and there's just no way. I can understand that, but not when it's something that's fixable. At least try. But yeah, as soon as she gets out of rehab, I'm gonna try to see if I can get all the medical records and stuff and try to. Like I said, I don't. I've never been a sue person. I've never sued anybody, and I don't even know if I want to sue. But I would think something needs to happen with this lady because apparently, j- because the way she said it so nonchalantly, like it was no big deal to. I mean, I've never seen somebody say that to someone and like it was no big deal. Which tells me that she's probably said this to tons of people. I mean, it was almost like it was just automatic for her. I need her name too because I don't even know what her name is at the moment. If she said it like that, she has said it many times. Yeah, let's get her address and ship a ton of gorilla poop to her house. Yeah, no, she's said it a bunch, which is sad, man, because it makes you wonder how many people didn't make it there that maybe could have been saved. She needs to be removed from her position yesterday. She does. But she seems like I hate to be stereotypical, but she seems like that type of person because I'd say she's probably in her maybe late 30s to 40s, and she's blonde, and you know how blondes are. So she seems kind of like the stereotypical. She would, if you seen a picture of her, when you look at her, you would immediately think, yeah, I could see that person saying something like that. Yeah, ditzy bimbo, exactly. But anyway, guys, let's check out one or more of his videos, and then I'm probably gonna have to call it a night. Try to get some sleep because I hadn't been getting much sleep at all. That is unacceptable to do nothing. She took an oath to uphold her patients. If she even took an oath, she probably didn't take an oath. Hell, for all we know, how do we even know she's a doctor? Just because she's got the white coat on. You know, I've always wondered that. Like, how do they know they sign it? Oh, okay. Shit, if she can be a cardiologist, then I could put me a white coat on. I could go be a cardiologist. I could do better than her. Shit, I could say, "Oh, we just gave that patient oxycodone and they're still in pain." Okay, yeah, let's go get a CT scan ASAP. Don't take a rocket scientist for that. She was probably a janitor, decided to play dress up. That could be. Shit, man, I might go buy me a long white coat and just walk in there and put my name tag on there. Be like Dr. Gangster. Go up to that lady, be like, "Hey, I heard your mom's in the hospital. I could put her on a ventilator and do chest compressions for you." Oh yeah, Christy's a Christy's a janitor. But see, that's not a hard job for her because since she's short, you know, she's closer to the floor anyways. Yes, she's closer to the floor, so that's not a hard job for her. Dr. Christie. But yeah, I think that's funny that Christie's been asking where I've been though. That's crazy. But yeah, I figure I was telling my grandmother too because she knows that I've been streaming and stuff. She's like, "Well, are you still streaming?" I was like, "Well, I ain't been streaming. I ain't streamed like since you've been in the hospital." I was like, "You ain't streamed in 3.5 weeks?" I was like, "Yeah, it's been almost a month." She's like, "Is anybody gonna be there?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "We'll find out, I guess." What is this doctor name that you're showing his podcast? So it's Eddie Joe, but his last name I can't pronounce it. It starts with a G. His real name is Eddie uh Gitsero or something like that, but it's Eddie Joe. But yeah, let's check out one more of his videos, and then I'll probably have to call it a night because I need to try to catch up on some sleep. But let's see, which one do you guys want to check out? Let's see. But yeah, it's Eddie Joe MD. He's an intensivist with a passion for learning and educating, but he's a ICU critical care doctor. And yeah, he told me he had a podcast. That's why I pulled it up. I was like, shit, let's check it out. Calcium channel blockers. Let's see, Let's do this one. This one was 2 months ago, so this is the most recent one.
Introducing Days Skin Loving Scented Body Scrub.
Welcome to the Saving Lives podcast. I'm Eddie Joe. Today, we're going to be discussing how certain calcium channel blockers create hypoxia and hypoxemia in ICU patients. Now, this is a podcast that I've been meaning to research for several years now because this is not something that I was ever taught during residency or medical school or anything like that. But I did start seeing it in my patients who were otherwise doing really well after cardiac surgery. Just to give you a quick little cardiac surgery case, me being in the intensive care unit as the intensivist. Patient comes out the day before out of surgery, good, pre-op and post-op EF, slam dunk case, no big issues. The following day, you notice that the patient is on high flow nasal cannula or on non-invasive ventilation. And so you say to yourself, well, this patient had perfectly normal pulmonary function tests before surgery and they didn't get an absurd amount of fluid. What in the world happened? And when you see enough of these cases, you start putting it together that there might be something with the antihypertensives that these patients are receiving, because a lot of them are just hypertensive. But before we get started, I have numerous citations for this podcast episode because, again, it took a significant amount of research. And you could check out those citations in the show notes down below. And as always, hat tip to the authors, and I do recommend you read these data for yourself. I always like to plug in my book, The Vasopressor and Inotrope Handbook. You can pick up a copy on either Amazon or my Shopify store. There is a coupon down below. But let's just talk about the problem first here. One of the things that a lot of people do not know is that calcium channel blockers can worsen oxygenation by shutting down the hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction, which an easy way to explain it is it's the lungs traffic control reflex that it diverts blood away from the poorly ventilated alveoli. If you take that reflex away, more blood flows through these low oxygen regions and they develop shunts, and it turns out that the PaO2 and the SpO2 fall. If you want to get a little bit more into the physiology of this hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction, which in the text it's shortened as HPV, but I cannot disassociate.
Now, he had told me that the reason he does these videos is like he wants to, he makes them to, what the hell just happened? Thanks for the raid, Burge. I appreciate it, man. But the reason he makes, yeah, I appreciate it, Burge. But the reason he makes these videos is he wants to teach other ICU doctors, I guess, apparently he's been doing it for a long, long time, and there's a lot of little things that he's learned over the years, and he just wanted to put the videos out there to try to help other ICU doctors, like, skip over a lot of the mistakes that he's made throughout the whole. Yeah, I appreciate the host.
HPV from the sexually transmitted disease. So I'm actually going to keep on saying the hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction throughout this podcast episode. But this hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction, it depends on L-type calcium entry into the pulmonary arterial smooth muscle. When a patient has alveolar hypoxia, it depolarizes that muscle. Therefore, calcium comes in, it increases the tone, and the flow is throttled to the hypoxic units. The calcium channel blockers that I'm describing here as being the culprits are the dihydropyridine calcium channel blockers. And what they do is that they block those L-type channels. No calcium entry and therefore no vasoconstriction where it's needed. Blood just keeps on perfusing the poorly ventilated lung, VQ mismatch widens, and the AA gradient goes up. Now, this isn't theoretical. Classic experiments and early human studies with nifedipine showed that blocking those channels blunts the hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction response alongside measurable drops in the PaO2 under hypoxic conditions. And this is reflected in studies that were published in 1976, 1981, and 1982. So which agents are the culprits here? Well, the clinical signal is clearest with intravenous dihydropyridines used for acute hypertension. These include nicardipine, also called Cardine, and clevidipine, also called Clevoprex. There have been numerous reports that flag
Clevidipine, that sounds like clavicular. Y'all remember clavicular?
hypoxia with IV nicardipine and clevidipine. And that signal does not show up with oral nicardipine, just the IV, which tells you that the route and clinical context matter here. A recent case write-up described rapid hypoxemia after nicardipine that resolved with D-challenge. Exactly what we do in the hospital when we have these patients on a Cardine drip, for example. We turn it off and then they get better. non-dihydropyridines are less clearly implicated in the literature set that I reviewed. So the bottom line is that treat any IV dihydropyridine as a potential contributor whenever the lung is relying
Okay,
on.
okay, we're not gonna finish that. Not because I don't want to watch it. Like half the shit he's talking about, I have no idea. But he said that he does the podcast because he wants to teach other ICU doctors a lot of the things that he's learned over the years to try to skip a lot of the my brain hurts. Yeah, it's a bunch of shit I don't understand either, you know. But I just kind of wanted to check it out, man. I at least owe the guy that, and I owe him dinner or something, you know. So, but like I said, it's too early to tell. She's still not out of the woods yet, but he gave her a shot, and that's all I can really ask for. I think 90% of those words were made up. Yeah. Well, that's like that dude I did a stream on clavicular. Like that sounds like a sexual transmitted disease. Clavicular. I got the clavicular. Yeah, that dude is whacked. Injected meth into his face. Chlamydia? No, clavicular. Yeah, that dude's crazy. I wish maybe y'all already know, but the last stream I did on him, he ran he ran somebody over with his vehicle, and I haven't had time to check to see whatever come of that. Like, I don't know if he got arrested or what, but I don't know if y'all remember that stream. I think that might have been the last stream I did. But somebody was on like in front of his car or jumping on his car, and he ran him over. Crazy. Oh, you went there? Okay. I don't know. Chrissy may have been there. Maybe Burge too. Or maybe nobody was there. Maybe I was just there watching clavicular by myself, running over people. You saw it? Okay. All right, I wasn't by myself then. Oh, all right, guys. I probably need to call tonight, get some sleep. I haven't been sleeping too much the past couple weeks. So, did he go to Turkey for his jaw surgery yet? Yeah, he has his girlfriend with him. Yep. Did he go to Turkey for his jaw surgery? I don't know if he got his jaw. See, that's the thing though. You can't you can't be screwing around with things that aren't broke. Like I like Michael Jackson, okay? Like I liked his music. I didn't necessarily like him as a person. But look at Michael Jackson, man. Like he fucked up with his face so much to where he looked weird. So, when you start messing with your jaw when there ain't nothing wrong with it, getting plastic surgery. Wait, he had a girlfriend? Yeah, he had a girlfriend. His girlfriend was filming him run over the dude. Yeah, she was the one filming on her phone. He just said, and then next thing you hear is just like blip blip. Must be a psychopath. He must be. There's something wrong with him, man. And he's taking meth so that he can have hollow cheekbones. Like, who the hell does that? But anyway, guys, I need to go ahead and call tonight. Catch up on some sleep. But I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. I appreciate Burge, Christy, Tyler, everybody on YouTube, Rumble. Um, I didn't really expect you guys to show up on my first stream after almost a month, but I appreciate it. I really do. His girlfriend must be a psychopath. For real. She is. But I appreciate you guys, man. And I'm gonna try to stream when I can. Uh, like I said, hopefully maybe once she gets out of rehab, because I don't know how long rehab's gonna take right now. They're talking maybe couple months. So I don't know. The streaming is probably going to be kind of sporadic. And then maybe once she gets home with me, maybe I can get into like a routine and get back to more consistent streaming again. But I'll try to keep you guys updated. I'll try to stream here and there. And look at that emote. What the fuck? Tyler, no. We don't want the granny with the gummies. No. But anyway, guys, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys. Let's see, what is tomorrow is Monday. I'm gonna be there. Well, I'm gonna be there pretty much every day this week. So, but just stay tuned. Hopefully, you guys will get notifications when I go live, and hopefully, over time, it'll get back to maybe I can get back to every day again, like I was doing. Maybe it'll be like every couple days now, something like that. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate Burge, everybody, and I'll catch you guys uh, on the next one, whenever that is. I appreciate you guys. But I just wanted to update you guys because I know it's been a while. So appreciate it, guys. Take care, y'all.